we have as a nation conducted primaries at the local, state, and federal levels, which brought out combatants in the NRC and SDP. We have successfully conducted elections based on those successful primaries. Elections to local government legislatures, state legislatures, and national assemblies. We have elected local government chairmen, state executive governors, and soon we shall be electing the executive president for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, after we may have had a successful presidential primaries in the two political parties by 12th September 1992. From my own survey of the political terrain, nothing dramatic will change. What I believe will happen is, however, how we, from the kind of upheaval it might experience if the primaries are not conducted fairly, in the coverage of not only the primaries but the coverage of the presidential election that will follow the party primaries beginning in September. I would want to give you certain parameters in which you will deliberate and bring out broad guidelines for the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria to operate. First, should we have correspondence from each station to cover a particular area and report to the central body, which will disseminate all the information to all stations after due clearance from, say, the political inclinations. How do we convince our owners that what we are doing is in the interest of Nigeria and not any particular section or interest? How do we, as professionals, abide by the rules and regulations without being intimidated by our own law with Schedule 2 Decree 27 of 1989? The answers to this question, and I'll say if we come together and answer this question and broadly bring out certain guidelines, we shall be for the better for it. Some rules and regulations that can protect us. I welcome you and pray you have fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
I believe that every state is represented there. Introduce yourself so that the representative of the governor can know you. You've already known the people.
My name is Christopher Nishia.
My name is Ahmed Irowa of NTA Benin.
Abdul Karim Abdullahi, MTA Program Headquarters, Lagos.
Fabio Daniel, NTA Network News.
Igbo Obano, Voice of Nigeria, Lagos.
Samuel Iyoyo, River State Commission,
This morning to start deliberations on issues that are genuinely crucial to the survival of our dear country. Those who are quite conversant with my background should know that I had my humble beginnings in broadcasting. Therefore, the privilege extended to me to witness today's event is a kind of rare opportunity for a reunion with my kith and kin. After all, it's often said that once a broadcaster, always a broadcaster. The letter which invited me to this August ceremony indicates that this national conference has been designed to achieve two principal objectives, which include: 1. Drawing up plans for a nationwide coverage of the forthcoming presidential elections, and 2. Deliberating on how to further promote indigenous program production and creating improved rapport among all electronic media in Nigeria. In my view, nothing could be more fascinating, bearing in mind the relevance and appropriateness of the time your conference is taking place. The motives behind your gathering here today, therefore, manifest the importance which Bond has deservedly attached to a successful conclusion of the transition program. Needless to state that the federal government has done and continues to do all within its power to ensure that the transition program does not derail. As disseminators of information, no time could be more auspicious than now to start planning for an important and very challenging assignment involving coverage of the forthcoming presidential elections, which in the main constitutes the last lap of the transition program. Perhaps I should at this juncture place on record the impartial role the electronic media have so far played in the ongoing transition process. You have been quite even-handed in handling previous elections and issues that arose from them. Conscious of the sensitivity of radio and television as agents of national unity and stability, members of the broadcasting organizations of Nigeria have performed with creditable restraint to the extent that there was no single report of violence precipitated by any misuse of the electronic media. So far, you have operated as true professionals who cherish to build than to destroy. I am very proud of you all, and my hope is that you will continue to build on this enviable record. To achieve this, there will be need for continuous monitoring of your operatives, lest they are swayed from this noble cause, since the temptation will always be there for them to be used as unpatriotic individuals whose main goal is to cause chaos and destabilize the nation. Corrupt and corruptible members of the honorable profession should be flushed out or kept at reasonable distance from points of action. Finally, let me commend Bond's initiative for planning to use this conference to deliberate further on promotion of indigenous program production. After over 3 decades of television broadcasting in Nigeria, the expectation has always been that we should have indigenous programs in sufficient quality and quantity to displace or at least to compete with the foreign programs on our screens. Unfortunately, this has proved so elusive to achieve. Perhaps you have reasons to offer for this. As a matter of fact, as close observers, people tend to notice a decline in the use of local programs to promote local initiatives. The behavioral patterns of our youth are becoming increasingly westernized to the detriment of our own culture and tradition. Local drama programs tend towards promoting fetish objectives, while the use of television for enhancement of farming has not been effective enough. It is my hope that your conference would turn its searchlights towards taking corrective measures aimed at arresting this dangerous trend. On behalf of myself, the government and people of Lagos State, I sincerely welcome all delegates to this occasion. I hope your schedule would not be too tight as to prevent you from seeing a few places of interest in Lagos State. I wish you pleasant deliberations. Thank you.
We now move to the next item.
Tourism Bureau, Mrs. S.K.T. Omotesho. Branch Chairman, Simply Yaya Abubakar. Director General F.R. thanking the Executive Governor of Lagos State, who sat down and wrote a speech, who has decided to associate himself with broadcasters, who remembers his broadcasting beginnings, and who has given us so much food for thought. A meeting of only a born committee. It's not done to us by all those whom we invited. So, Madam, thank you for coming yourself. Thank you for being such a woman of substance.
At this junction, we call on Mr. in question, Mr. Ogunwamo.
Distinguished gentlemen of the press, we have called this conference to address certain issues and to put in proper perspective and correct misconceptions raised by some sections of the press in their Sunday, August 30, 1992 editions, with specific respect to what is now termed the Lagos State Government PR contract. According to the reports, the Lagos State Government has signed a contract with a Lagos-based public relations firm with the aim of improving the image of the Lagos State Government. The value of the contract was reported by the various newspapers to be 30 million, 50 million, 100 million, and in a particularly extreme case, 400 million naira. The reports also spoke of a growing disaffection between the executive arm of the Lagos State Government, its Bureau of Information and Culture, and the state legislators. The reports further alleged that some officials of the State Information Bureau were unhappy as they saw the decision to engage the service of the communications firm as an attempt to make them redundant. As a responsible and responsive government, we cannot allow these confounded allegations, which we believe we have been put forward to embarrass the government and cause disaffection among the populace, to go on inside communications. Also using his sister company, Quadrant, to handle the publications business for the government, and to advise the government on ways of ensuring that these laudable programs for the people of the state are properly articulated and get to the populace with little or no obstruction. Government to ensure that it not only embarks on programs that will ensure the greater good for the greater number of people, thereby promoting loyalty and understanding. Examples abound all over the world of governments that have committed huge sums of money towards propagating their general activities and or specific programs that have socially, economically, and politically desirable goals. A specific case in point will be the appointment of Sashi and Sashi by the government of the former USSR to promote its image in the West with a view to attracting Western investments. Every year, the British government, through the Central Office of Information, spends millions of pounds on different advertising and PR campaigns, which not only propagate government activities and programs, but are directed at informing, motivating, educating, and correcting public attitudes with respect to the economy, health, education, occupational and road hazards. Coming closer home, we have seen structured media campaigns by the federal, state, and lately local governments, which have been put out with specific objectives of creating awareness for programs directed for the greater good of the people. And these activities have not been treated with such large-scale negative publicity. It is important for us to state at this stage that though the firm of communications consultants have been appointed, a formal agreement is yet to be signed. Therefore, no single kobo has yet been paid out. And as against the rumored ridiculous figures of tens and hundreds of millions, the total value of the campaign is only 3 million naira. This is broken down into specific activities, including direct media advertising on radio, television, and press, events management, production and hearing of documentaries, supplements, public relations. Being media practitioners yourself, you are aware of the high rates of media space. For example, an average full-page insertion in a newspaper is about 12,000 naira, while a 60-second TV commercial slot on network news is about 43,000 naira. This, of course, will give you an idea of the volume of publicity you can get with 3 million naira. On the issue of using external consultants, it is difficult to understand what the hue and cry is all about, as every organization uses external consultants for different areas of endeavors, namely taxation, engineering, civil disposal, marketing, politics, management, legal activities, and so on. So, why not communications? We as a government believe in using the best resources to achieve our aims of providing good governance for the people of Lagos State, and recognizing that there is a lot of value in the perspective an external consultant can bring to bear in the performance of functions by state government officials. We are and will continue to use reputable external consultants. The appointment of communications consultant is a step in the right direction. We find the allegation that the external consultants have been brought in to take over the responsibilities of the Bureau of Information and therefore make them redundant as being very ridiculous. Wherever in the world is it done that a whole government department will be disbanded overnight and consultants brought in to replace them? Even if this was decided by any organization, such a move will be impracticable as by the setup of consultancies they usually work for. The set of consultants usually work for a multiplicity of clients and therefore cannot have enough manpower to handle the day-to-day requirements of such an organization. External consultants are usually brought in to supplement the efforts of the client's organization with a view to bring into bear on such organizations their varied experiences and knowledge gathered over many years of dealing with different problems in the area of specialization. I will at this point wish to assure you and officials of our Bureau of Information that there is no intention either now or in the future to make anybody redundant. We have great respect for officials of the state government and will not do anything that will jeopardize their professional or personal interests. After all, we are all Lagosians, either by birth or residence, whose welfare we have been elected to look after. This administration believes in doing the right thing for its people and also places a lot of value on the people's right to know. We do not believe in playing politics with the lives of our people by propagating programs that have more political benefits to the government in power than concrete benefits to the people of the state. We will, however, not succumb to blackmail and pressure from people whose stock in trade is to create disharmony and disaffection by peddling false rumors. At this juncture, it is pertinent to point out that the total amount budgeted by the state government for this year is 2.6 billion naira. It will be scandalous for any responsible government to expend the alleged 400 million naira, which is a huge proportion of his budget, on publicity alone. Gentlemen of the press, let me assure you that we run an open government here. The Secretary of the State Government, Professor Ada Omotunde Sego, did not give the press the exact amount of money involved on the day she was interviewed, principally because the agreement is yet to be signed. It was not because she has anything to hide. More so, the 3 million naira is just a mere budget. It does not mean that all the money has to be spent. While thanking you, eminent gentlemen of the press, for your presence and attention, it is my hope that these explanations will be given the same kind of prominence that was attendant to the newspaper reports on the issue last Sunday. Thank you very much.
To contract the public relations aspect of the government to a firm. A proposal was submitted to the government. How much was quoted by the company?
Start from the hand there, we discuss.
I want to know why there's no publicity as to who will apply for the contract and the basic of choosing quadrants for the job. Thank you.
I want to find out whether the origin of this particular controversy, because one can see that it appears that even the consultants are not on very good terms with the people in the government. So we have been hearing one or two things I want to clarify about the jury and the rest of it.
The first question by David is to know how much was involved in the contract. How much? the agency that got the contract, put forward. I must tell you that, I mean, in any government, in any organization, there's a way of doing things, working things out. If the government feels it desires to have some a consultant to augment the service of this information rule, we will not make this a public issue. I mean, by telling the press, we are inviting people to come and bid for this contract, whatever. And moreover, whatever figure they put forward is confidential. It is not that they put off a figure and the government just agreed to it. It was the figure agreed on it that is of importance that you have to know. And now that's 3 million, which we have told you. Then, the mother said there are some, I mean, that there are kind of bad relationship between the government people and the...
Yes, something that fuels this whole thing about 50 million, 100 million. The people are, one believes that maybe there is not a smooth relationship.
Well, we as the government want to tell you that we are not aware of anything like that. And if they have any misdealings, we have not been notified. And if they notify us, that always, a way of correcting things. We rectify, whatever they feel is the problem.
Yes. First, like to explain before I answer my questions. In some of the stories that I read, it was written that the state government gave out the contract on a trial period of 4 months, within which it will pay 3 million naira, and you have corroborated that right just now. But that the 400 million naira is not something that the state government will pay immediately or pay right now. That it will span the period of 4 years. That is what 100 million naira per annum. Well, now you have given us an insight into what the state government intends to do within the next 4 months. After 4 months, what is going to happen? What is the proposal? How is the state government treating the proposal? That's one. Secondly, the governor told a delegation of the YMCA a few hours ago that there are some wealthy people in Lagos State who are out to create bad impressions about the state government. And you mentioned some moments ago that there are some people who are spreading false rumor. I don't know. Can you identify these people? And if you can't, and I don't suppose you will, why do you think some people should be out for to run the government down? Out to run the government down.
The state government has set up a committee to look at maybe to look into the leaking of the issue to the press, how the issue got leaked to the press. So I want to know whether it is true and who are the members of the committee.
Considering the amount involved, 3 million naira for 4 months, don't you think it was in order to inform the State House or Assembly of your proposal before going ahead to contract these people?
I want you to make a clarification on the fact that you did mention that some of the other state governments and in fact national governments have been making consultancy over advertising. One thing is that there is always a difference between propaganda and publicity. You see, those governments are trying to make publicity of their achievements. But in this case, the government has been under constant criticism of foot dragging over certain things, especially the issue of implementation of its electoral promises. Now, how do you convince the electorates that what you are doing now is not propaganda?
Should I go on? Okay. Last Friday, the Vice President, like most Nigerians would have expected, said that it is the responsibility of the state to run, to fund the primary schools, the examinations and putting this into consideration, it doesn't mean that the state government values publicity of propaganda, as you put it, more than the welfare of the kids. I mean, if they have this amount to give out for publicity, why can't they have just perhaps lent it to the local government to fund the examination? Thank you.
Lagos, right? Please, which
department of the government handled this particular contract? Let me just start with the issue of the primary schools. We just mentioned that we have 3 million naira for publicity. The 3 million naira is for the duration, I mean, it has a duration, has a period, for the publicity. I mean, it might not just be 4 months. Later on, we'll give you the details, for that. Now you're asking about the primary school thing. You are quite aware that when there was problem at the primary schools, when they were unable to have the examination, the governor came to the rescue of the schools by providing 3 million naira. We have already what the Guardian reported on Saturday regarding that issue. I want to assure you that the government is seriously looking into this, and proper communication will be made at the highest level. Yes, the 3 million naira is from the contingency fund, so that takes care of that.
Which of the 3 million, the first or the second?
I'm addressing the stress correction visiting, so I'm talking of that one. Yeah, somebody was asking me why there's no publicity as to who will apply for the contract or whatever. I think I've answered that question. I think I've taken care of the question.
No. What about the committee?
Oh, that handles the publicity.
Or that signs something with
normally this is a decision of the cabinet, so I mean, if it's approved at the cabinet level, that's okay. The decision of the government, and the government is the one handling it.
Committee. What about the committee?
Which committee?
Yes, no,
that's false. There is not such a committee.
Then, about those who are out to run government, the governor mentioned it. Who are they?
We don't want to start mentioning names. In any situation, you have people who are interested in the source of the government, and at the same time, you have people, who are interested in running the government down. We have mentioned this, and the message is properly conveyed to those who are concerned. We hope they will make amends.